G'day, guys. Thank you for your patience and thank you for joining us. Can you guys see the cybersecurity alert webinar slide?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So, guys, we are being joined today by Dean Attard, MD for Crash Technology, Damien Petruccelli, MD for Covered Insurance. We will be in specific talking about the cybersecurity alerts that and the challenges that we're seeing in today's market. We basically are going to cover present exploits from ransomware. We will quickly touch on session hijacking. From there, we will be able to explain what dark web is and the dark web monitoring part of it, intrusion detection and prevention, why we are recommending that to some of our customers, and if your Office 365 data is protected. We will then lead into security awareness, phishing attack training. So that's the components which I will be working along with Dean on. This is applicable to all attendees. Moving from there, we will be having Damien, who will talk about cybersecurity insurance. And this part, which is the remaining 20 odd minutes, is related or it is for the business owners and the decision makers to look at. So not everybody needs to be on there. It's not applicable to us. So, Dean, is there anything you want to add to this?
No, I think you've covered it perfectly. Obviously, the cyber insurance is a big question that I get asked a lot from decision makers. So that's why we've brought along Damien. So he'll be able to fill in some information for those who've been asking for it. Prior to that, there's some of the stuff that we'll be going over. We've gone over in the last webinar. However, there are some new things that have come to light, so we'll cover those. So continue on.
Thank you. So just to our valuable attendees, there is a repeat of some slides because they're still relevant. So those slides are from our last presentation. They're still relevant. But apart from that, there's new information in here. So there's something for everybody to listen, learn, and enjoy today. So, you know, let's address the elephant in the room, ransomware, and the cyber threats it brings. So we'll talk about one of the most recent challenges which was faced. In specific, that was faced by the WA government, where there was data which was stolen by online cyber criminals through a law firm attack. Basically, what had happened is a legal firm was hacked by a ransomware gang. From there, they got into insurance claim data, which was then linked back to the WA government. The exact details aren't known in regards to how much information and what has been exposed, but it's literally very smart criminals, cyber criminals out there getting through vulnerabilities and different loopholes to get critical data. Now, we can also look at how the Australian Defence Force got caught up in a ransomware attack. Now, this is very interesting because it wasn't the ADF which got attacked directly. Once again, they found someone back to get into the information. and in specific over here, the data was hacked through an external IT service provider. So with the ADF or any of the defense related or government related contractors, you've got to be APRA certified, which means you have to comply to a number of security policies and procedures. And this IT provider had just one area not covered. It was a known vulnerability, and the hackers, the cyber criminals exploited that, got through. There was some data which was compromised, but it just shows the level of activity which is done not only for monetary gain, but also for getting your knowledge. So we've got these couple instances. What is and how this is affecting all businesses is with the rise of these high cases, we are seeing an outcry by the privacy advocates in regards to reforming the privacy laws so there can be higher financial penalties. So in the wake of Optus and Medibank, which we spoke about in the last presentations, there has been new rules and regulations which are being pushed forward. We've spoken about Australian Essential 8, and Dean will speak about these, but there's a big review of the privacy laws which are coming through. With that, Dean, can I get you to present from here? Dean, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, mate, I was on mute.
Okay.
Just continuing on from what Kultar has said, and as most of you who have spoken to me know how serious we are about working in line with the Essential 8. We, over the past few months, have partnered with the Australian Cyber Security Centre. So we're getting real-time alerts regarding any type of attacks that are being seen. And it's really important that everybody has an understanding of what that means for your business and for your staff. So it's really important that the Essential 8 now becomes something that is part of our daily life. The cyber hotline now is really ramped up, so you can call that hotline 24/7. Obviously, the Australian Cyber Security Centre, as this slide says, never pay a ransom. At the end of the day, your data is going to get leaked. So it's really just a matter of trying to stop that happening in the first place. And these are part of what we're trying to promote as the Essential 8. So really important. Obviously, the majority of people on this webinar, in the event there is a ransomware attack, would contact us in the first place and will be guided by us. But we're now also guided by the Australian Cyber Security Centre. So, you know, as soon as we have some type of attack, you know, we now have somewhere to turn to as well. So, Kultar, next slide, please.
Sure.
KK, you want to run over the regulations?
Yep. So from a privacy law perspective or a regulations compliance perspective, smaller businesses are subject to a number of regulations. In specific, the Privacy Act has been around for a very long time and also includes the Notifiable Data Breaches Act, which is directly connected with the Australian Cyber Security Council, or ASD. So under the Notifiable Data Breaches Act, that's where they're looking at reviewing those fines and so on. Depending upon the business you're in, you might be exposed to EU GDPR, which is based on data on customers who are residing in EU. So if you've got any international operations, you would be exposed to that. ISO depends upon who you are working with, what your business does. APRA is more in regards to being regulated from a government perspective. What we as small businesses are being exposed or will be at some stage required to completely comply with is the Essential 8. I've done a webinar on this last year in December, and in my follow-up email, I will provide a recording to that. So where I go through all the Essential 8, the different criterias that you have to reach different maturity levels across 8 main domains. NIST is pretty much a framework in regards to being able to comply with Essential 8. So over the last, this entire year, we have been running projects to make sure we are covering you guys from a perspective of multi-factor authentication, from a perspective of having the right processes and policies, and also having the right solutions out there, the right security solutions, the perimeter firewall, the defense, cybersecurity defense perspective, having Sophos as a solution, from a disaster recovery or a backup perspective, having Datto as a solution. So we've had one-on-one conversations with multiple customers, but also in the background, we have evolved. Being a partner with ACSC, we have reviewed our policies and procedures as well. I'll pass that back on to you, Dean, to talk about ransomware and the following slides.
Yeah, thanks, Gulta. Yeah, so the ransomware has been something that has been around for a long time, and in our industry, obviously, we've seen it, we've dealt with it. There are many customers of ours who are on this webinar who have been affected by ransomware at various different points. And it's our job as an MSP to try and make sure that we are as at the forefront of this as we can. So a lot of ransomware attacks now are coming in totally different forms, things that we haven't seen before. Selling data and publishing it or auctioning it online is now probably one of the biggest ransomware events that we are seeing. 6 or 7 years ago, it was about encrypting your data and trying to extort for money. Now there's different ways that they're able to extort. We had an issue with a law firm by where someone said they got their data and they were going to publish it or auction it online. So these things are happening. We see them all the time. Fortunately for us, we had things in place that never occurred. But these guys will start targeting your staff. They will look at ways that they can call into your business and find information. So this is now a little bit harder to manage than from the technology side. So even we've all seen the classic Facebook pop-up that says, "Oh, what village or what suburb did your mother's grandmother come from?" Or all those kinds of things. They are what we call phishing attacks. And you will see just by looking at Facebook how many people how many people actually respond to those things. So it's really important that from a business perspective, that those kind of things, you know, you educate your staff and you yourself stay educated, because it only takes a split second and somebody clicks on something or somebody puts in a piece of information, and that's it. We've now opened a portal into the business. So the current state now is not only attacking the hardware or the software of what your business uses, which is where we come in as the first line of defense, but now they're starting to attack employees. So it's really important that your employees stay educated and know what to look for. Next slide, Coulter. Okay, so this one I've spoken about a few times, session hijacking. This is ever evolving. There is no quick fix. Nobody's got a super smart solution for it, because there is a number of ways that this can happen. And I just want to give you a quick understanding of what session hijacking is. So we all know we'll use the NAB Bank or eBay or any of the web applications that you log in, you put a username and a password. So most of those will, well, not most, all of those will create a session token. So that session token pretty much is authority for your computer or your web browser to do what you need to do on that web server. So if you're going to order a new part on eBay, when you log in, put your username and password, that creates an alphanumerical session ID. What can happen is if a attacker or a hacker has preloaded your computer with some code, then that can send that session ID directly to the hacker. They punch that into a web browser and they pretty much get to see what you see, because they actually take control of that session. Now, that has happened to me, so it can happen to anybody. So it's really it's something that everybody has to keep an eye out for, because when you log into the session, you might see something change and it looks a little bit odd, or you might actually get blocked out and the session will then drop out. At that point, you should really be on the phone to us going, hey guys, we've seen this, what can we do? Now, ultimately, to be able to kill that session, we need to get on to the team who are looking after the web server. So it's really important that if you see any type of fluctuation in your screen or in a web browser session, or you get kicked off, that you make contact with us so we can at least start having a look at it and be prepared, you know, that there may be something fraudulent going on. So that is one that you get to see. So that is taking over your actual session. The other one is where the attacker guesses sessions into the web server. So when you get a token ID, these hackers, they've already been onto the web server. They're trying to get predictive code onto that server. So let's say we were talking about NAB Bank. They're looking to try and predict session IDs. Now, the thing with that is, which is why you would, all of our banking stuff, we get tokens, we get SMS passwords, we get all that kind of stuff. And the NAB Bank is clearing sessions all the time. So this is more something that you need to be cognizant of if you're using websites that are have lesser security than what the NAB would have. And there's not a great deal that we can do about that. That is more the owners and the developers of those websites have tools that they can run across their websites to make sure that they limit this type of attack. So it's really important, and I guess touching on what Kultar was talking about with the ADF and companies like Optus, is now with everything being so online and our data being cross-moved to many different companies, it's really important that you understand what those companies are doing in terms of their security. So it's the same as us. Most of you here would use our web portal to log tickets. We do that through Datto, and Datto report to us on a regular basis regarding what type of encryption they have and all that kind of thing. So when you're dealing with third parties, it's important that either you make us aware, which most of our customers do, so we can, at least have a look and see what those companies are doing. And we'll field any questions on that later as well. Kultar, you can take over from here.
Okay, so the attack cycle is how cyber criminals can get into your data and how they can encrypt the data. So the delivery is three main modules. It's either through a compromised website, so something which you visit, it's not secure, and they're able to download or put through some sort of a code onto your machine. Secondly, it's through phishing attacks through emails. So, we all get these emails, someone's uncle passed away, leaving $21 million, click over here so we can connect with you, or here's an invoice you were waiting for, or your DHL package hasn't arrived, you've got to click this link. As soon as you see that email, block it and delete it. If you think it is emulating a customer of yours, forward that email onto us so we can investigate it. So it's through that phishing email, through a link and attachment through an email, or
Cool.
it's through a known vulnerability.
Sorry, Kultar, can I just butt in there for a second?
Mm-hmm.
I want to just quickly touch on how these guys or how these groups get that type of information. So in order for most of us to do business, we are on social media, we're on LinkedIn, we do all that kind of stuff to promote ourselves and our business. And most of us do that with the right intentions. But there are a lot of cyber criminals that are absolutely looking at LinkedIn on a daily basis and looking at exactly our information. So, if I jumped onto most of your LinkedIn profiles, I pretty much got your email address, I've got your business address, I know where you went to school, I know what you've studied. So all those kinds of things are attack points that these guys are looking for. So to be to be able to get you guys to click on links, these things are very targeted at you. This is, you know, they might look at a group in your industry and they will make phone calls, they will speak to people, they will do what they need to do. So it is very, very sophisticated in the way that they deliver these packages in terms of emails or links. So it's very important to keep an eye out for anything that is not, well, that even if it looks real, we've had some really good ones that it has been the staff's education that have said, hey, look, this looks a little bit out of place, and there are some key things to look for. Kultar, take over again.
Thank you. So from there, they're able to the known vulnerabilities. So the third would be known vulnerabilities where systems, your Windows operating system, your Windows Server system, or an application you're using, for example, it could be a third-party application like MYOB, hasn't been patched. And they will try and get through that. They'll put a payload. And there's criminals, this is getting all automated. They're able to find this information. They're able to generate code using various AI software engines like, I don't want to name any ones, but we're quite aware of the GPTs out there, which can now actually create code. There's also a whole dark web or dark world where you can hire ransomware as a service and pay them a monthly fees, and they'll go out. They've got a database of Gmail accounts or customer named accounts where the information has been leaked out. They'll go and attack that and try and get the data. So they'll exploit that. So this all happens pre-breach, and this is where you need the right level of security, training, awareness to be able to avoid being affected where where that code gets installed, it executes the command, and from there the action would be either to steal the data, steal and compromise the data, steal and encrypt the data, encrypt the backups, and then demand for ransom. So that's basically what happens. If that happens, then you do need to have, as soon as you see that information, you connect with us. We are making sure we're providing the security and making you guys aware, giving you some basic training on what to look out for. But if that happens, we will come in place. So what we do is we, as organizations, need to identify that it's people, processes, and technology. That is, these are the three things which we need to have on our side. We need to have the right technology to protect us, and the right awareness training with our staff so they can spot these challenges. And then you're working with Crash Technology, who's developed and implemented the policies, the right solutions to make sure that we can take care of that. If this happens, who do you call? You call us, we work with you. And if we need to work with the different departments, the ACSC, whoever we need to get involved, we will do that with you. And from a recovery perspective, we've got technology, but also that's where Damien will talk about how insurance helps business owners recover from these instances. We'll go through some examples. Damien will take that. Hence, that's where it's important for the business owners to stay on, listen to that. So that's basically what we look at as a security framework: identify, protect, detect, we respond, and then we help you recover. With Datto, we can recover within minutes. And we'll talk about how do we protect your Office 365 data in the next few slides. So let's talk about what is the impact of ransomware. Basically, can impact anywhere from a day's downtime to the business shutting down, right? It's like a piece of string, and who's left with the shortest stick. So these are stuff which has been provided from some government study by the Australian government, where they worked out what would be the average cost of ransomware across the incidents which were reported to them. So a month is what they've seen as an average recovery time. This is to be able to be completely back on your feet, 100% operational, and so on. Slowest have been pretty much the government and educational sectors. Fastest have been manufacturing, financial, professional services, because they've got the right policies, procedures in place. Predominantly, they also have the right solutions in place, so they can jump back on their feet. Let's talk about, Dean, let's talk about intrusion detection and prevention.
Yeah, so this probably goes back to a couple of slides ago where Kultar was talking about how these guys want to get access to our networks and what they do to exploit known vulnerabilities. Now, a lot of this stuff is changing, weekly. So what they do to try and exploit a vulnerability. So we all have servers, whether they be in the cloud, whether they be on premise, that we need to keep our businesses operational. Now, I want to make it very clear that this doesn't matter whether your server is in your office, whether the server is in a cloud, whether the server is in a data center. It is all vulnerable at some point. So there is a vulnerability that is known. Let's say it's a vulnerability with MYOB. These guys will then put out their feelers on the web. They will start looking for ports that need to be open to work, and then they will start to try to deploy and attack these vulnerabilities. Now, these vulnerabilities are monitored, and there is a way that we are now able to patch these vulnerabilities quite quickly and look at these very, very quickly and try and mitigate these. So intrusion detection and prevention is now something that is part of the Essential 8. You might hear the term network pen testing, which a lot of people use, and that's what that is. It's intrusion detection and prevention. So it's really there's a whole different different amount of ways that these guys try to get into the network, and these slides pretty much just show this is what they try to do. They can, if they're able to run a phishing attack and use and get something inside the network, then that is where we want to look at the detection. But we try to concentrate on the prevention and then hope we don't have to use the detection. So this slide is just similar how it happens. Kultar, move on to the next slide, please. Yeah, so I want to go just quickly over this. There is an application that we have been using and we have deployed to some of our customers. It's called Intruder.io. It basically attacks our networks on a 15-minute cycle. And it also lets us know what vulnerabilities there are, and it compares those vulnerabilities against our network. So we have implemented this. We've tested it. It is working really good. For those of our customers who have Sophos firewalls and Fortinet firewalls, they are able to pick this up as an intrusion. So we have to make allowances on the firewall for this to be allowed to be able to be worked, sorry. So this application, it reports to us daily, or if there is a critical event, as you can see on this dashboard, there is a critical event. It gives us a cyber hygiene score, so we can see exactly where your business is at as a cyber hygiene. There's a whole heap of parameters that sit behind there, but the really good thing about this is as soon as there is a vulnerability, we are notified about it, and it will run a scan against our targets, and it gives us the information that we require to be able to resolve those vulnerabilities.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to cover on that?
No, that's fine.
Perfect. Well, guys, we've I hope people have heard about dark web. There have been a number of instances in movies where they've shown people, trying to run code and get information. The dark web is a real thing. It's been around for at least the last 7 years, and it gives you a range of services. You can buy literally anything on the dark web. That's what I've heard of. I don't have an account. I've never been online. I wouldn't know how to go online, and I really don't want to, in case somebody tracks me back. I'm just very risk averse. So anyways, from the dark web, what is also being captured is data. So there's data, which is emails, passwords, banking details, credit card information, organizational knowledge. It's all available, stockpiled, and there's different people out there, organizations out there, which are hoarding this information, making it available. So there's a full market out there. From a business perspective, this is what we have to think about. Dark web means, okay, is my information out there? How do I now get it off the dark web? Because if your information is out there, that basically means it will be exploited by someone who wants to run a ransomware campaign, which will end up in a data breach. So we need to plug that in so we can complete the circle from a security perspective. So we've got tools to do dark web monitoring. We've got tools to then take the data off the dark web or patch it. And if we're aware of what is exposed out there, for example, there could be your Gmail account, which doesn't really concern the business, but it could mean you've got access to some sort of banking information in there, your home loan documents, whatever. It makes us aware. Gmail, here's the password. Did you change it? Let's do that. So it all comes down to how do we have the right processes. So see, I quickly wanted to touch base on, is your Office 365 data? I'm very mindful of time, so I'm going to run through this. What this basically, this part was going to say, your Office 365 data isn't protected. You are susceptible for ransomware attacks. And there's examples where people have received emails from like Microsoft Anti-Spam Pro, which looks very legitimate. It's got a Microsoft logo. It's coming to your account. It says we're making sure that you can have anti-spam. It's a free service. And when you click on it, it looks like, hey, this is a Microsoft solution. You've got to log into your account. Over here, everything is emulated to be Microsoft. However, this is a phishing attack. And what you can see over here is the O is actually some sort of a different digit. It's a capital, it's 0 rather than O. However, if you weren't vigilant and you didn't check it out and you clicked accept, what would happen is the hacker could then encrypt all your O365 emails, get into your files, and start encrypting that data. And this has basically happened. Voila, you've got the data hacked in Office 365. There's actually a YouTube video of Kevin Mitnick, who at one stage, he passed away on the 16th of July. He at one stage was the world's most famous hacker. It gives you the vibes of Leonardo DiCaprio and Catch Me If You Can movie. He had the FBI on his heels for about 4 years and made them run around. Would basically be in the same building as them and use different emulating software to emulate his cell phone locations, and would post funny messages to them like, my kung fu is stronger. So he's a very funny character and a famous hacker. So he did a demo on how data can get encrypted. Basically, what that means is your Microsoft SaaS Office 365 data isn't protected because Microsoft says, hey, it's a shared responsibility model. We will keep your data in the recycle bin if you delete it, but if it gets encrypted, we're not responsible for it. We're not taking backups unless you've got an E5 license. If you've got an E5 license, you're paying $75 a month. Yes, we'll back up your services. If you've got a O365 business standard professional license, your data is not being backed up. The solution is, I covered this slide in my last presentation as well. I'm just saying how long data is being kept in the recycle bin. If you've got an auto archive, how long it will be. If it is permanently deleted or if it is encrypted, you can't get your Office 365 data back. So we work with Datto. We protect everything from your emails, your Teams files, chats being your recordings. Literally, will literally back up everything, your SharePoint, your OneDrive, and so on. And that's done through Datto's SaaS protection. I think we've already deployed it to a lot of our customers, and Dean has rolled it out. We need to reach out to you just to let you know. It costs about $5 or $6 per user per month for that peace of mind that all the data is retained. And if if an employee leaves, we can still have all that data. Or if a disgruntled employee deletes it, we still have all the data backed up. It's backed up 3 times a day. So let's talk about some security awareness training. We basically want to look at what are the 5 steps to safeguard your data. A, we need a firewall. It's very basic because we need to stop people from entering, and we want to stop our team members from going out there and trying to, create challenges. So the firewall will block from going out to known vulnerabilities or unsecure websites and stop from attacks coming in, most of them. That's what the firewall will do. Spam filter, it's default. Microsoft has some decent products, and it will stop most of the spam, but we need to have that. Then it is having the server endpoint, your antivirus, because once again, there are vulnerabilities which are stopped. If you're going onto the internet, you're not connected to the corporate network, you still need to be protected. Business continuity, it's not, should I have it? It is, yes, I need it. And we provide that to all of our customers. There's business continuity through Datto, or then there's only backup for customers who want to stay on that. Let's talk about what is cyber resilience. So we've covered cybersecurity. We basically do the firewalls. We manage the VPNs. We will make sure you've got the right antivirus solution. We'll patch your computers. We'll also put in reminders that it will need to be done within the next 7 days as per our regulations for Essential 8. What we will tell you guys and educate you guys in what you have to maintain or do as a part of hygiene to be able to create good cyber resilience. So cyber resilience starts with people, process, and technologies. And let's look at what the challenges are, why we need to be resilient. 43% of small, medium businesses will be attacked, and the cyber crime costs about 10.5 trillion. So it's very lucrative. for businesses to be out there. So people, what this means is, we're all aware that we've got to look out for emails which are emulating to be our suppliers, emails which are known issues like my DHL package is stuck, click on this link. So I recently I clicked on something myself not too long ago where I was expecting a quote to be accepted, and it was emulated in such a good way where it said quote accepted, Crash Technology. I literally clicked on the link, and guess what? Sophos stopped me straight away. It said, "What are you doing, mate?" Sophos stopped me, and I was able to stop myself from infecting my machine. So it happens to everyone. So be very mindful on what you click and what is being sent to you. In today's day and age, we're trying to juggle a number of things, have a number of hats we wear, a number of beanies we wear. So make sure, put that second into looking at where it is coming from, what this means before you double click on stuff. People have to be aware about how they're using social media. Don't put out obvious stuff out there, which can link back to your passphrases or your passwords. Obvious stuff like, birthdays and stuff like that. Try and keep your private life private and not online. Mobile device management security. This is something which we can introduce to you guys. We can have corporate policies on work phones being utilized for X, Y, and Z activities, or reaching out, or being able to download different applications. When people are working remotely, they can be using their own device. So there needs to be antivirus, VPN access set up, no RDS access. We've got to be very careful of Windows RDS. So passphrases, we need to have long, complex, easy to remember passphrases. Some of mine is like, my dog is very good, or something along those lines. So just change and have it alphanumerical, but make it a passphrase. Processes is having the best practices. We will be working with you guys, educating you guys on that. For us as a process is making sure we're regularly auditing and regularly doing the patching of your systems. And if there are certain accounts, we'll be able to create different privilege, different checks on those accounts. From a technology perspective, this is where we need to have the right layers of security. Physical systems need to be protected, applications need to be protected, which is basically being able to provide policies, compliance policies, security policies, perimeter protection. We've spoken about having firewalls, antivirus. Network protection is where the firewall comes in place. We make sure we're locking off the different ports and they're not open and vulnerable. Endpoint protection, once again, is having the right antivirus malware solution. And then comes in the data BCDR, which becomes your last line of defense in case there is a vulnerable solution. Moving on, you're targeted. Make sure you are sticking with the policies and procedures. We will keep working with you guys, providing you these webinars so we can educate you guys. Passphrase management, this is critical. Make sure you lock your device. A quick way to lock your device, Windows device, is the Windows sign and the L key. Windows L will lock it. So you don't have to go Control Alt Delete and lock. You can just go Windows L to lock your appliance. That's a quick tip. Be diligent on what you click. Antivirus is there, it's your friend. Backups are a must-have, and we will start working with the employers on if we need to introduce a device management policy for corporate devices. So see, with that, we have solutions which can provide targeted training. So you can have some phishing link campaigns. You can have video sessions which explain people if they click on an email or a phishing link, it will take them to training. And we can also run some training camps. So that pretty much covers me from a perspective, us from a perspective of the technology and cybersecurity update. With this is where we need the business owners to stay on. Dean, is there anything you want to add on before we pass to Damien?
No, I think that we've covered all the bits and pieces that we wanted to cover. I think it's important for us now just to hear what Damien's got to say. I know I can see there's quite a few people online who this is going to it's going to impact. So with that in mind, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's really refreshing to hear that the likes of Crash are taking care of their customers in such a way, and alluding to the fact that cybersecurity in this day and age is a necessity, and certainly looks good on an insurance underwriting application when we go to the market. So thank you, and look forward to doing some more of these in future. With the limited time we have this morning, it really was basically for each and all to, I guess, reflect on the real risks within their own business in the context of what you've heard today. Obviously, it's really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we'll be talking about briefly. But if you think about your business, if it was ever threatened or succumbed to a cyber attack, why would cyber insurance be of real value as a form of protection for your business? Aside from what Crash is doing for your business, this is an add-on in our view that really is a necessity for all businesses. Unfortunately, 20% of SMEs are taking out cyber insurance at the moment. It's still a very low percentage out there, and it's a real concern with how they recover thereafter. Please, any questions after the presentation, feel free to reach out. Colter and Dean got my details. Look,
I've just launched the poll, and
great.
We've got some answers coming in.
Great. Yeah, really interested in just getting a feel for where you're at with the cyber risks in terms of insurance understanding. So it would be appreciate if we can get some results on that.
So I've got 3 questions. Okay, we'll give it another minute.
A few there. Yep. Okay.
Yep. No problem.
I suppose I might just, I guess, touch on just my brief history as a broker of 25 years, and where I've really taken an interest in the cyber landscape. That we've always felt that, from our point of view, is that cyber insurance and working with your MSP is a little bit like tax probe insurance through an accountant. It's very much related, because in the event of an attack, the common goal is that we want to mitigate the loss, and realise that the relationship you have with your MSP is vitally important, and should remain strong as it goes deep into what they do to look after your data, passwords, and system functionality overall. So we're a very big believer of that as part of our Cyber Partner Protect program we've been working on for a little while now, and yeah, hope to introduce that at some stage in the near future.
Excellent. I'll end the poll.
Great.
Can we see the results?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting on that. I mean, I suppose we've almost been hit by a cyber attack. I mean, that's a huge percentage there, and you know about it. I'm taking it then that we're talking to a group that doesn't have insurance at the moment, or that perhaps they haven't even been quoted, because insurance is expensive. I've got to say, it doesn't have to be. A lot of it is based around what your broker or what us as advisors would be offering you. You know, do you need social engineering? How much business interruption do you need? Could you consider a higher excess perhaps to cover you know, those small cases? So there's ways and means to look at that premium, but yeah, it is quite a difficult landscape out there at the moment. So you really need to speak to a broker that is going to give you the options, basically. So
Okay.
it's interesting. Yeah, the results there.
Yeah, some people have mentioned they don't understand the cyber risk in the business.
Mm, mm.
We can
And
cover
that's where I
that.
think, yeah, these sessions really count for something, because it starts to alert the fact that there are behind the scenes efforts being made, obviously with what Dean was mentioning earlier about prevention. You know, those detections, yes, you need those layers, but certainly the preventative elements are key. So
Okay.
yeah.
So we'll begin from here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I won't go too much into that. I mean, obviously, HWL have been bashed up enough in recent times. Optus has too, Medibank, Latitude, the recent matter with RI Advice that stemmed over a network being bombarded over 6 years with malware and succumbed to, I think it was some $700 million. I could be well over that fine. Might be 70 million, one of those, but it was it's a decent fine, and caused even the employees within that thought they were doing such a, you know, a really good job in there in protecting client information. It really caused them a lot of grief in there too. So there's a lot of that element too that we know you're trying to do your best in the business, but there's still those regulations, and privacy is a massive one. So yeah, look, just getting back to knowing your cyber risks. I mean, let's open the back gate for a moment and sort of say, well, look, you know, how can you identify yours? Perhaps, you know, using a dedicated contact within your, you know, Crash's business to talk to them about, you know, what would we do in the event of a cyber attack, or talk to us, of course. How soon would you know about a situation? Obviously, the Intruder program we just saw there was a fantastic program there to know much sooner what's happening in that environment. And just breaking it down, because let's face it, you know, I mean, the cyber attacks are generally the ones that occur around January when you're out enjoying the garden or out down the beach, and all of a sudden you go, oh, I can't connect to the server when you get back in, watching the cricket. What do you do next? So, you know, talk to your MSP, talk to us, and the claims incident management team that we'll put you in contact with immediately. These terms have been raised, and I'm sorry, might sound like I'm going a bit quick. I'm sort of skimming through it at the moment, mindful of time, Coulter, so please pull me up if it's going beyond. But one in particular was social engineering. I think the others have sort of been brought up enough, where, you know, again, this becomes a situation where, you know, potentially if you're holding money or transferring money to the wrong account that might have seemingly come from a request via email purporting to be a customer, and a hacker gains access to some banking information, all of a sudden. I mean, you know, we're all becoming a bit more sensitized to even unknown calls on the mobile, but this is voice recognition, and the call ups are rampant. And I think with that, if you answer a call from an unknown number, please let the caller speak first. You know, what they're doing behind the scenes are they're just recording snippets of information of your voice, and they'll impersonate you down the track in those, you know, in a convincing manner, whether it be to the bank or wherever else they can gain more information, you know, and so forth. So,
We'll move on to the next one.
yeah. Thanks there. Social engineering, yeah. Well, I mean, look, the other matter is it's not just funds. Like they can snap from an account or even off a credit card if they can get to those details. There's digital assets along the way, obviously, you know, sensitive customer documents, you know, potentially spreadsheets of information, you know, privileged information at that, and even your websites. I mean, you may have payment gateways. You may have a situation where you do rely on your website heavily, and all of a sudden, you know, access is being denied to get to that website from for legitimate purposes. You know, and they're taking information out of that as well. So, yeah, put a lot of effort behind that website and protect that too. So, look, really, cyber insurance is just more than a cost cover. I think I'd understand there is a service element to it that you just can't access directly. It's really hard. I mean, trying to get a forensic consulting firm to help in a negotiation potentially of a ransom, following a ransomware attack, I should say, or extortionary costs. I mean, the costs, you know, aren't cheap, of course. And so remediating what could be an impactful loss to the business is important at all ends. You know, they've got to close down the operating systems, and they'll work. Look, not every insurer directly, I know Crash won't be happy with that, but won't necessarily work with the MSP, but we're trying to turn that around. I think it's just too important not to keep you guys involved with all this. So, you know, as much as we're an advocate for, you know, obviously our client, our policy holder, we're also, you know, we want to make sure that the MSP is staying involved. We think that's very important. And of course, you know, your cybersecurity fighters, those negotiators, the James Bonds of this world that, you know, look to firstly not pay a ransom, although if they have to pay the ransom to get what they call a de-encryption key to get your data back. You know, that's what these services are there for. And then, of course, when it's all said and done, what is the business interruption loss to you? What is the real interruption loss? And Optus copped a big loss out of that as well. If we go back to those sort of corporate type claims, public relations, you know, let's not underestimate the reputational damage that could do to the business as well. So you need a public relations consultant in there, and obviously, from a legal perspective, those defending the claims or to avoid a final penalty through the Information Commissioner as well.
So this is all covered by cyber insurance?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. So to put in perspective, yeah, I mean, look, obviously, actually, we break it onto the next slide, please, Coulter. I might, let's do that and talk about that. So, I mean, basically, the incident response costs, the IT security and forensic costs, crisis containment. That's really the key first and foremost. And then, you know, so they're costs that on average can be, you know, $30,000 to $60,000. So, you know, nothing to sniffle about. Legal and regulatory costs, obviously, in the aftermath. And then some insurers now are providing some post-breach remediation cost cover. That's not necessarily an improvement on your systems. You know, it's like taking home insurance. They're not going to improve, you know, go from a 30 square home to a 50 square home following a fire. What it's there to do is to just make sure that, you know, the scans and all the aftermath, the performances and the malware is gone and everything else from your systems there. So the post-breach remediation works for both client and obviously the insurer, but they cover those costs as well. And the social engineering side of it, of course, we've got some, you know, where there's a law firm or theft of funds in escrow, extortion, corporate ID theft, business interruption loss. So we've sort of covered off on those as well.
Okay.
So just the next slide there. So, look, with that, I mean, look, without, I suppose, going into too much detail about regarding the underwriting criteria and what suits an underwriter, the applications are quite pronounced in areas where they want to know about, you know, your endpoint verification, obviously your antivirus firewalls, how often a pen test conducted, penetration tests, and you know, you've got multi-factor authentication. Look, they'll just get heavier on the underwriting questions. You know, training. You know, that's not just all about IT. Obviously, it's about the human errors and the elements of training your staff to become, you know, more aware of these things. Because let's face it, a human error makes up approximately around about 50 to 70% of all claims. So that is a big part of it. And data encryption as well, you know, around what others might be able to just get into your system and see personal ID information, even customer, suppliers, employees. You know, there's a lot of that sort of information that they're going to be fishing for as well.
Okay.
Might just break into the next. Calder, thank you. Look, just to put in perspective, I thought this was a good one. This has only come from one insurer. This is not an a wide overview of the insurance industry as such, but this is from one particular insurer, which is, you know, from what they've told us, it's quite on the mark. Is that around about, they've assessed here about 1,500 claims as an estimate. They mentioned there was about $30 odd million in total incurred costs of claims within that scope there. And as you can see, look, you know, medical services is a big one. You know, professional services, accountants, real estate, property management, other consultants, retailing there at 8%. Yeah, so look, there is a mixed bag there. I actually find engineers and architects an interesting one because they hold a lot of IP and quite a lot of large tenders, and are certainly prime for a ransomware attack and a denial of service on getting out that information they might need to complete a large tender, for example. So I think they'll be on the hit list of the cyber hackers in future. Yeah, so
We want to look at some case studies.
yeah, actually, I'll just on that, if we got the cyber claims journey, I just wanted to sort of bring that to a head. Or is
Which
that
one is
further
that?
down, is it? Oh, my apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one there. Look, just to put in a real life perspective, look, from day dot, you know, the cyber incidents identified, you need to notify us. You know, whether you've got internal IT consultants, obviously crash, and so on. It's really a matter of reporting it directly in to the claims incident management teams within the insurers, and of course through us if we're involved. So you know, that's from day dot. Don't leave it festering. Don't try and sort it out yourselves. It's just, yeah, just do it in such a way that where you know, an appointed panel can be arranged, and then experts can start talking with the likes of us and the MSP as well. So around day two, obviously, then we start getting updated, and you start getting updated with matters. Around day 5, you know, again, this is actually probably more one insurer, but look, there are other insurers that would run similarly, is that they would start notifying you of what the insurance position looks like, how the policy will respond, just give you the heads up on things. And at that time, they'd usually ask for your excess. Now, an excess, you know, can range between usually 500, probably 1,000 at the moment, 1,000 plus. You know, if you want to take it up further, see what it does to your premium potentially. And there's a waiting period in terms of business interruption costs. So your loss of income, usually around 72 hours. So that kind of acts as you know, your cost, loss, or expense type.
So you're not covered
component of
for the
that business.
first. You're not covered for the first 72 hours.
Correct.
So if you had
Yeah.
a dado, at least you're operational. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but look, it's horses for course. Just depends on who the insurer is, and And again, you know, that's what our broker's job's for. I mean, we're there to construct that policy in such a way and explain it as best we can on that basis. And then look, by day 21, expect then that we would know and be able to identify through the forensic reports on where the data breaches are and how whether they've been managed to resolve those. And then through the insurer, we'll talk with the client as well. And then within 30 days, of course, the notification to the privacy breach commissioner if that's necessary, and obviously to individuals, customers as well, because that's where your reputational damage can really hit home. If they haven't been notified or it's been very generalistic in the approach, yeah, keep that in mind as well. So, yeah. I'm not sure how much more time.
Do you want to go through any of the case studies? That's
Yeah, look,
yeah.
look, a VPN, I'll just get back to that. So with that, look, a VPN, I don't know, I assume most would use it in the sense that it really establishes a connection between two devices, you know, your laptop, tablet or phone, through an office or cloud server. And they are used, because they're, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Dean or Coulter, is that my understanding is they're just a great way to hide from the internet activity out there, and probably adds to the protection against hackers. So they do have security benefits for that, and it can be made more safe if you're on a public Wi-Fi. It allows for sort of an encryption of data on your router, and even improves internet speeds, from my understanding as well. So to put it in perspective, here is that the hacker accessed the bank system through an employee's device, and that sent out certain privileges that allowed them to put on what they call password scrapping malware, which goes in and checks trends of, you know, what you've put in terms of passwords in the past 30 days and sort of goes into that. But it went one further. It actually went in and got domain administrator access, and it pushed it out to multiple servers. So, of course, by that stage, they were able to look over the whole environment, not just the individuals, and the ransom note was sent out for 60 Bitcoin. Unless they paid it, no decryption key would be provided, so their data wouldn't be released. The insurer's first priority was that they had to get a backup as far back before the breach. While this was going on in the background, the business could continue to operate. And they actually found one that wasn't stored in the live environment. So again, you know, probably another one, keep a backup separate, and the old USB flash drivers works just as well. No ransom was paid on that particular one, and they were the costs involved there. So, you know, again, it could have been much worse than that. I think Bitcoin's up around 40.
For 104?
So, yeah, so the claim itself was actually a small bank catered to private and commercial customers of around $100 million. So, yeah, so, you know, again, the hacker just put a scanning tool in and gained that information from an employee that was working remotely. So it was a very small bank. I'm not sure exactly, and I probably couldn't even say who it is at the moment. But yeah, it's yeah, just one example there, and it just brings it back again. You know, working in public spaces or on Wi-Fi's, even charging stations now in public spheres now are getting jacked, and people are getting information. Hackers are getting information out of public charging stations. So yeah, it's yeah, keep it as private as you can when you're using your system. That's for sure. Yeah, phishing for funds. Look, this was based on an email compromise where the scam was a firm's employee had received an email purporting to be Microsoft. And the email explained that the employee's email account had been suspended. And of course, you know, they could verify their account details on an attached link. And Microsoft would revoke the suspension. So, of course, you know, the employee goes in, clicks on the link, appeared to be in a legitimate looking web page, and decided they'd put their Outlook username and password in there. And So thinking it was a genuine email from Microsoft, the employee entered their credentials,
They got the credentials,
and what
created
that
a,
actually,
yep,
yeah, what
created
that
and
actually,
emulated a supplier's invoice. We've looked at this, and we've had a few customers being affected by this as well. So
yeah, right.
So the $300,000,
Yeah.
that was a claim? The customer got $300,000?
The claim itself was actually in the end it was $245,000 because what had happened was the fraudster had sent an email on requesting a change of details that they weren't going to pay. They didn't want the money by check. They now wanted it by EFT, of course, and and obviously imitated the real estate agent's request in terms of how that was going to happen. They put best regards and so on, and sort of termed it in such a way that we just want to change up how this settlement's going to be made. So it was $243,000 that went into a fraudster's account in the end from an email. Yeah, and yeah, but apparently how they discovered it was a few days later, the seller they contacted the real estate agent and go, look, we never received check for the final payment. What's happened? So yeah, so that's how they discovered it. And look, funds transfer fraud still makes up about 10% of the overall cyber claims out there.
And the cyber insurer, they covered the loss?
On that one, yeah, I believe they did. It was about another 60,000 in IT costs and everything to rectify.
Okay.
But yeah, social engineering is getting more and more difficult to get higher limits now. So I mean,
Yes,
at the moment we've got.
we've
Sorry, go on.
advised all our customers to have disclaimers in their emails and in their signatures saying that, hey, if we ever ask for funds, blah, 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 make sure you call
Yep.
in, do a double check, because some of them have been bitten, some of them have had very close calls, or their customers have had close calls. So this, like larger businesses, we had a business where someone was able to emulate an email from one of the directors and reached out and said, hey, I want this amount of funds being transferred, because they were literally scanning every email coming in. It was just the language used was suspicious, and the accounts person then called and asked, hey, what are you doing? Why do you want this money to be paid? So they were able to pick it up, but there are situations where people haven't been able to. So it's good to know that there are insurance companies out there who will cover that sort of
Yeah. Look, just again on that, the social engineering costs covering the insurance is becoming more limited now. I mean, I think up to about 100,000, give or take, maybe one insurer. Yeah, so it has to be look. In saying that too, we can look around. We could possibly get sort of layered cover where it means, you go to one insurer and go to another and go to another and potentially do things like that, just depending on the size and scope of the business.
Okay.
But that's why broker is valuable in that sense, to be able to have a look at those. Yeah, as well. Yeah.
KK, I think we should, unless you want to cover anything else in particular, Damien, I'm thinking maybe we open for some questions.
Absolutely. Happy to. Yeah. Thanks,
maybe
Dave.
we
So
can...
see, just towards thank you, Dean. Just to conclude, guys, first of all, thank you so much for staying with us for the entire period. I hope you found both our presentation in regards to the challenges, the solutions, and training valuable, and some valuable information from Damien in regards to why you should have cyber insurance and what it can cover. So first of all, keep an eye out for fake emails. I know they'll fly under the radar. Expect the team should be always vigilant and diligent with what they do. We've got backups, so you don't have to worry about that. Password policy, have a healthy, long, complex, but simple to remember for yourself passphrase. So that's pretty much at the end of the day, we will work on patching the solution where we need to reach out to customers saying, hey, this is what we need to implement for you guys. We will reach out to you guys. Your data security and your business continuity is utmost priority. See, with that, I'm more than happy to wrap up and take any questions from you guys. Okay.
I actually have one for Dean.
Okay.
Fire away.
The Intruder IO program. So again, the prevention over detection
Mm-hmm.
there. Do you have particular goal settings? So in other words, you know, if something, a vulnerability there, just a degree of what might be a real concern for you, or is it just based on any intrusion, and remediate straight away?
Yeah, so I'm muted. Yeah, so what it does is it looks for every known vulnerability. It looks at our targets and it will compare that network against the vulnerability. So it will just go to the broader sense and have a look at the network from what is coming out of Intruder IO as a vulnerability. So as we were in the presentation, I just got an email regarding a critical Citrix ShareFile document, which can have unauthenticated access, and it shot that across. It shot that across our targets, and it has come back saying that emerging threat has been passed, and it doesn't affect any of our customers.
Okay, great.
I don't think there's any questions forthcoming, Coulter.
No, we haven't had any questions. See, guys, if you have any emails which are concerning you, it looks like dubious, or they look like a phishing email, you can forward that on to support@crashtechnology.com.au. Just say, hey guys, this is what I see. If you've got any questions, you can always reach out to Dean and myself. Also the sales@crashtechnology.com.au email that comes through a few people within the organization. So first point of call is support team, support@crashtechnology.com.au, or our 0393691444 number. Yeah, so thank you so much for having us. I will be sharing the recording. I'll see if I can host it on YouTube via private link.
And just quickly, everybody, if there's anything you need regarding the cyber insurance, please reach out to us and we'll put you in contact with Damien. And Damien, thanks very much for spending the time and clearing a few things up for us. That was great.
My pleasure. Thanks, Dane. Thanks,
Damien,
Coulter.
can you give us your email? It's Damien.
Oh, well, DAMIAN
Yep.
at coveritinsurance.com.au.
.com.au.
Yes.
Yep. Pretty simple. Damien
It is.
at coveritinsurance.com.au.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Cheers.
great day. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.